this week we are going to take a break from our regular scheduled program. So instead of doing our regular art Monday through Thursday like normal with our different categories, we're going to just set that aside for this week, and we are going to do a special book study. Yes, you heard it right. Book study. Now we're going to take a book that you've read in class, in your humanities class specifically, and we're going to use that to create a art project. And that art project is going to take up all 4 days this week. I've broken it down into sections so you can follow along and do one part each day. Most of the time, you're going to need things to dry in between one day and the next. So even if you decide to crunch it together and do it in one sitting, you might have to wait a little bit in there to let things dry before going on to the next step. Just keep that in mind. So here we go. Today, part 1. You ready? Let's go. All right, we're going to do our art based on Peter Rabbit, or some of the work by Beatrix Potter. And as you know, she wrote her stories and she illustrated her work. So we're going to try to create a bunny in her style. We need our paint paper today, just one. We're going to hold it vertically and we want to fill up the page. So please don't draw teeny tiny. We're going to draw large today. The only other thing that you are going to need is a pencil and an eraser, maybe a sharpener. I like to keep my pencil sharp. So if you have that handy, that's great. But if not, that's all right. All right, so remember, she drew cute little animals. They often had clothes on them, and they had a lot of personality. And then she paints them in very soft watercolory type of colors, very soft pastels. Okay, let's start. Let's start with our head. So take your pencil, and I want you to draw lightly. I'm going to draw a lot darker than you because I need you to see it. Pretend like your paper is divided in half, halfway from top to bottom, halfway from side to side, kind of like it's in quarters. Don't actually draw a line, just sort of pretend. And that's going to help you to know where to put things on your paper. So if this is the middle, I am going to go up above the middle and make basically what looks like a smiley face here. It's just a nice bottom to our bunny head. And then up here, try to stay about as far away as I did. This is the top of the bunny's head. And then I'm just going to have this line come down, and then it curves out just a little bit to form his cheeks. So it kind of goes around his cheeks and up to where his forehead would be. And you can see I wasn't perfect. No worries, that's why we have erasers. And we're trying to get the two sides to be pretty symmetrical, but they don't need to be perfect. So as long as it's basically the same shape. And sometimes if I'm trying to get an angle right, I'll just turn my paper. However makes it feel comfortable to you, that's what you want to do. I'm going to fix this, straighten that out just a little bit. Again, we're not really worried about it being perfect. I think that's good enough. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and go down here, and we're going to put in his little cheeks, the opening to his mouth, basically. And this is almost looks like, what? A little wave. Looks like a little wave to me. And then we have the little bunny nose. So it comes down almost, it's another smiley face with a little smiley face on top. Just like that. No harsh angles, no real straight lines. And then, of course, our bunny's going to need some whiskers. And they're going to go out past his head, past his cheeks, and curve just a little bit. They're not too crazy curvy. I'm going to make these a little longer here at the bottom. And I kind of want them to go out in a little bit different directions there. That looks good. I like it. All right. So they're not perfect. They're not lined up like soldiers. Now his eyes are going to go right about here. And I know it might seem kind of low to you, but this is correct. I'm starting with the tops, and again, I'm trying to match them. This is a little curved line, and then I'll put one underneath, just like that. It almost looks like a football, a very curvy football, just like that. And then inside, I'm going to go ahead and put a little circle, just like that. Well, part of a circle, just a curved line. Now, it's going to look kind of weird until we color it, and that's okay. Next, let's go ahead, and I like to add a life spot. So I'm going to do one mini circle over here. Mini circle over here. And that part of the eye is going to stay white. So we won't color that in later. Remember that. Don't color that part in. Okay, his head looks great. I'm really pleased with this. Now we need to add in his ears. So we're going to do a big ear coming off of the top of his head. I don't want to run off the paper. I'm going to bend it around. It goes a little wider. It has some strange little curves to it. Looks good. Okay. Now the inside of the ear. We're going to see the white part, and then you're going to see the inner part of the ear. So it gets skinny at the top and comes back around, follows that curve, and back down to touch his head. Whew. All right. That looks awesome. Now we have to do the same thing over here, but the opposite. This is the challenge. Again, we do not need them to match exactly the same. Nobody is perfectly symmetrical, so don't worry if they aren't exactly the same. They just have to be about the same shape and size so they look like they belong on the same animal. Voila! Nice! So we have a saying that they're not sisters, they're cousins. They don't look identical, but they look like they're in the same family. All right, we're going to add a bow. So I'm going to start with sort of a little rectangle that has soft edges to it. And then down here, I'm going to create the bow, which looks kind of like a bendy triangle. Same thing on this side. Again, they don't have to match exactly. And I'm going to put some little wrinkles in the bow. Wrinkle, wrinkle. There. So you could tell it's material. He is looking so good. And we're going to draw a line from his head down, and we're just going to run it into that bow. So just curve it around. This is part of his coat, his jacket that he's wearing. Okay, from here, from that line you just made, we're going to come down, and we have to go out over his belly. So it has to flare out. It has to curve out because he has a, bigger belly and legs at the bottom. And then we're going to bring this line over, a little curve. That's the bottom of his jacket. And then we're going to bring it up, and we're going to do this little notch. It's going to go curve, and then it's going to go back in towards the bow, just like that. Same thing on this side, curve, back in towards the bow. There, that's the opening to his little jacket, his little coat. Very nice. All right, he needs some arms. So from right about here, we're going to just do a curve, and it's going to come back down, cross in front of his jacket. See that? It's almost like an L. And now this one is the opposite. Curve, comes back in, crossover onto his jacket. Make a little rainbow, Those are his sleeves. And then we'll make a little line that goes back towards the elbow, just like that. Back towards the elbow, just like that. All right, these lines we don't need because his arms are not see-through, right? Right. So we need to get rid of those, but oops, I accidentally erased part of my line. Let me just fix that real quick. Now this is why you want to draw lightly, because I'm drawing dark. It's a lot harder to erase my lines. And you're probably still going to see my lines, unfortunately. But I want you to be able to see my drawing, so I'm pressing hard. Okay, this looks so good. All right, he needs some paws. We're going to keep these pretty simple. They're just going to come out, and we're going to start with just curving it around. They almost look like little balls. Little balls. That's totally fine. And then let's go ahead and erase the lines we don't need. Because again, his hands are not see-through, so I'm going to get rid of those. And then I've got to fix the part I erased. All right, looking good. And now we need to indicate that he has buttons on his jacket so he could close it up. There's one, you'd see part of one there, a little tiny bit of it. If those are too hard to draw, don't worry about it. Just make sure you put the same number of buttons on each side. We want them to match. And now let's go down to his legs. So his legs, we're going to have a line that swoops. Well, this is his belly. There's the bottom of his belly. That's his tummy. And now his legs come out from that line. And they're just going to go kind of at an angle. And then this funny little curve. And then we'll do the opposite on this side. Funny little curve. And a little angle. There, he kind of comes in at the bottom. But I made this one a little too skinny. I want them to match. Anything you see off or that bothers you, you just stop the video and you take your time and fix it, okay? You need to be happy with it. All right, curved back down, that's his toe. I'm going to do a little curve right here. This is his heel, and then I'm just going to sort of connect them, a little arch down to where his little toes are. Toes are just a little half circle. Half circle? Beautiful. Whatever we do on one side, we do on the other. Another half circle, and connect the last toe. And then we have another, no, I kind of made that pointy. I don't like it pointy. I want it to be a little rounder, a little cuter. And then another one. And then another one. And you can see I didn't quite make my feet the same. I made this one too big. So I'm adjusting it. And that's what you want to do while you're drawing. Anything that's off, you just fix it now. Now's the time to fix it. While we're just doing pencil. Okay, he has toes. So that means he also needs to have little separations on his paws as well. So I'm just drawing some curved lines in to give him those little separations between his toe beans, right, his little paws. There, that works. And I just did 3 on each side, but I'm not happy with this side, so I'm going to adjust it. And I would love for you to do the same thing as you go. If you see things that aren't quite right or they're just not quite matching up, then just pause the video and just fix them. Fix them till you're happy. Oh, Peter's looking adorable. All right. I think we have done a wonderful job so far. He definitely looks like Peter Rabbit. Definitely looks like Beatrix Potter's style. Now I'm going to add a little bit into the background. Just a couple leaves, a little bit of vegetation just to make it interesting. So I start with a big line and then go up the middle and create these little veins to make it interesting. And I apologize that I'm a little off camera there at the bottom, but I'm just drawing some leaves and some stems. So on the left side of my Peter Bunny, I just did one big leaf kind of towards the bottom. And now on the right side, I'm adding more leaves. So I'm sort of doing an asymmetrical balance here where there's just one on the left and then several on the right hand side going up a little bit taller. It's just going to sort of frame him and give us something interesting in the background. This is very much what Beatrix Potter would do. So I'm going to go ahead and have this one kind of growing up. And then I think I'll do like a flowery type thing up here. Let me add a little leaf. They get a little smaller at the top where the plant is growing. Add a few more little ones in. And off of here, I'm just going to do one more big swirly going up almost as tall as my bunny. And then I'm doing 2 leaves like that. And at the top, I'm just going to put this sort of like a crocus, a flower up here at the top. And I don't think I'm going to do a lot with it. I'm going to do more painting with it. So I'm just going to leave it like a shape. It almost looks like a pear. I think I need another leaf. Maybe one here. So you do what makes you happy over there, but keep it simple. Don't get too complicated. And I think it just didn't quite look like I had enough over here. So I'm going to add one more leaf over here. All right. I am pleased with that. I think that looks really good. Here's the bottom. You can see the bottom better. All right. Come back tomorrow and we will do part 2.